packed show for you tonight on this Thursday night, big Thursday night football game. Tyler Fulghum is going to join me to break that down. Doug Glanville is going to join us. We'll talk some World Series and also two of the most disrespected, no respect, I tell you, teams in the NFL with the Giants and the Seattle Seahawks. We've got Raanan and Brady Henderson who are going to be joining us to preview that matchup coming your way on Sunday. But let's bring in Tyler. What's up, man? How you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, it was about 35 minutes ago. We were on Daily Wager getting ready for Thursday night football. A little NBA chatter in there as well. So I'm ready for anything you throw my way, Anita. Bring it.
All right, we're going to do a deep dive into that matchup. But first, as always, we like to start with the good word. You know how this works? I tee up a comment, a statement, a play for you, and you give us the word that first comes to mind. So let's start first and foremost with what's going on in the World Series. We've got Jeremy Pena, who is a rookie, 16-1 for him to win the World Series MVP. Keep in mind, he was the MVP of the ALCS. What's your good word, my friend?
The word is who, with a question mark on the end. As in the Astros fans remembering all of the postseason exploits of their former shortstop, Carlos Correa. And because Pena's been such a beast in the postseason, they're going, Carlos who? We don't need Correa anymore. We'll get back to the World Series. They might win it again because they've just figured out how to draft and develop yet another young player at that shortstop position to be a linchpin in the middle of that lineup and that defense. So the word is who, as in Carlos Correa, who? He's off to Minnesota. We're still winning games, and we got another shortstop that is providing for our team some postseason heroics.
I like it. Creative. I like what you did there. My word is tempting. Tempting because of what great odds that is presenting if, of course, he does win the MVP of the World Series. But I think really the real play here is if you believe that the Astros are going to win the World Series, I think Bregman is the play, 12-1. Not as great odds, but still pretty solid. Let's be honest, best hitter for that team, total compassing the postseason, batting .333. Tyler, he's only struck out twice so far in this postseason. If you believe the Phillies, the Cinderella team, are going to come in and win it, how can you not go with Bryce Harper, right? That's 7-1. Those even not as tempting odds for you, but in 11 games, he's batting .419. But I might just play all three and hedge my bets there. That might be what I do. Let's talk about the hardwood. Of course, the Lakers, who have just been god-awful this season. Prior to the season starting, we talked about it, Tyler. I said, bet that they will not make it to the playoffs. Now, you want to jump on that train? It's now minus 150 for the Lakers not to make it to the playoffs. As we know, they have not won a game yet all season. What is your good word?
I also played their team win total under 44.5, so we're off to a good start there, even though I'm a massive LeBron fan. My word is trade, because if they don't make a trade, getting Russell Westbrook out and bringing in some shooting, I mean, they need shooting so bad, Anita. I mean, we can shoot better from the three-point line than the Los Angeles Lakers professional NBA basketball team is right now. Unless they are able to trade Russell Westbrook for some legitimate perimeter shooting around Anthony Davis and LeBron James, they're not making the playoffs. So the only thing that would stop you from cashing that, if you already purchased it or if you want to buy it right now at minus 150, is a trade, which don't know what they have outside of Russell Westbrook and his expiring deal. Their draft picks are like 2027, 2029. They've been linked to the Pacers for Buddy Hield, who is an elite three-point shooter, and Miles Turner, who's a big man who can step out and knock down the three as well as defend the rim. That would make them a lot better, but why would anyone want to take Russell Westbrook outside of his expiring deal? I don't know if a trade is probable. I don't know if it's likely, but if it doesn't happen, this team's missing the playoffs yet again.
My good word is run, as in run, don't walk to the window, because I feel these odds are never going to be as good as they are right now, even at minus 150. And if you didn't listen to Tyler and I before the season started and jumped on them not making the playoffs and jumped on them under the win total, now's the time to do so. I'm with you. Trades need to be made. I'll go one step further, Tyler. I think they need to trade AD as well. I think they need to blow this whole thing up. Wow. I really do. Listen, they are the worst second-half team in the NBA. I've got questions with Coach Ham. Is he really the right guy for this? There's just question marks all over this team, and I do not like. This is bigger than just Russell Westbrook. This is, in my opinion, a total redo. Dare I say, try to trade LeBron James? Obviously, I know that that's not going to happen. LeBron is, of course, waiting for his son Bronny to play with him in LA. So, but nonetheless, run, don't walk. Get on this right now because they're going to lose to the Timberwolves tomorrow night. And once that happens, this bad boy is going to probably jump up to 180,
right.
minus 180.
Right.
All right, here we go. And this news broke with us on Daily Wager right before Daily Wager started tonight. And of course, Adam Schefter joined us on the program. Jamar Chase, hip injury, out 4 to 6 weeks, the minimum 4 weeks. What's your good word?
My good word here is schedule. And the schedule is actually not daunting for the Bengals to continue to win games, even without Jamar Chase for these 4 to 6 weeks, who, by the way, he had this injury initially happened in that game against New Orleans. It popped back up in the game against Atlanta, and still, despite that injury, he goes for $130 and 2 touchdowns in each game. Dude's a stud. But the schedule is setting up favorably. I think Joe was pointing this out, Joe Fortenbaugh on Daily Wager. They have the Steelers, I think the Texans in there. They play the Browns this week as a favorite on Monday Night Football. And the Browns, of course, are still without Deshaun Watson at quarterback. So we looked at FPI's win probability for the rest of their schedule. And of the 10 games that they have remaining, FPI favors them in 8 of them. That's pretty significant, even with Jamar Chase going down. So there's still T. Higgins, there's still Tyler Boyd, there's still weapons on offense. Lou Anaruno's done a good job with that defense. So I think the schedule sets up for them to survive life without Jamar Chase for 4 to 6 weeks and still kind of realize their potential this season.
My good word is Ravens. Listen, prior to the season starting, we talked futures bets on all these programs. And I said I really did believe that the Ravens were going to win the AFC North this season. So, Jamar Chase is not changing that opinion for me because I did pick the Ravens to begin with. But just as you said, Monday night, this is a Bengals team going up against the Cleveland Browns. Now that line 3.5 now has fallen to 3. Okay. And as you said, listen, there are a lot of weapons on this team for Joe Burrow, right? Like, don't sleep on T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst now at tight end for them. And Joe Mixon's utilizing the passing game a lot. And I love this Monday night matchup. The Cleveland Browns, they're not great against opposing running backs. They've given up 12 touchdowns, Tyler, to opposing running backs this season. They're one of the worst defenses in the red zone. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's one of the best offenses in the red zone. Look, even my dogs agree. And in the last 2 weeks, we've seen the Cincinnati Bengals offense really kind of get back into their groove, right? And that shotgun 90% of the time, Joe Burrow tossing the ball all over the yard. So I still like them on Monday night, even without Jamar Chase. And I'd like the Ravens to win the division since the get-go. We're going to dive into that Thursday night matchup tonight with the Ravens. But first, we're going to check in my brother from another mother because we're both from the 305, Miami, that is, Jeff Darlington. Let's listen in.
When it comes to the Bucs' struggles, we can point toward any number of areas, whether it's offense, defense, or the injuries facing both. But let's start with the offense. Offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich said this week that you can't beat a soul scoring 3 points as they did against the lowly Panthers last week. They know whether it's execution or play calling, they've got to be better in this game. On defense, also a huge challenge against the Ravens. In the past 6 games, the Ravens have rushed for 150 yards or more, while the Bucs have struggled in that same capacity stopping the run. So this matchup is not great for the Bucs. Yes, it feels like they understand the urgency involved, that they have to get a win to get their season back on track. But in this case, Anita, it is easier said than done.
Again, Jeff Darlington, great report. Let's dive into it. And this is a Tampa Bay Bucs team that are favored by 2 now. The line has moved. The over-under's at 46.5. Tyler, how are you playing tonight's game?
I'm in kind of a rut right now, Anita. Every play I think is a winner, is a loser. So fading me is kind of been profitable as of late. Every empirical data point and trend with these two teams has pointing me to the under. I mean, explosive plays are gone from the Ravens offense. Same for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Ravens play at a really methodical pace. They suppress play volume on their side. They don't allow you to run, 65, 75 plays on the other side. So I'm going to go over 46.5. I know we've had the trends as well on Thursday Night Football of 5-2 to the under. I try and, I guess, validate or verify this handicapping this way. There's a lot of injuries on the Tampa Bay side defensively. They're missing like every starting defensive back. Akeem Hicks is out for yet another game. So that should help Baltimore try and find some explosive plays. They have Mark Andrews, even though he didn't practice, available for this game. Rashad Bateman is as well. Devin Duvernay. Lamar Jackson needs to start creating some long runs and explosive pass plays like he did the first couple weeks of the season. And this is the right time to pick on Tampa Bay's defense with those injuries in the secondary. And if they're able to do that, that should press Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense to throw a lot against a Baltimore defense that has been pretty forgiving through the air. So with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans available, with Julio Jones back, with Cade Otton at tight end and a couple of pass-catching running backs and Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette, I think Tom Brady could have maybe his best box score game in a while. That's why the totals moved from 44.5 to 46.5. I'm going to go over, I guess.
Well, here's my play. I did a deep dive into this. I don't know. I couldn't sleep on Wednesday night, so I did a deep dive into this and found some interesting things. This Baltimore Ravens defense has improved the last 4 weeks. A big reason why is they've gotten healthier, right? With Houston back, of course, on the defensive line. Meanwhile, this Tampa Bay team, let's be honest, they still have that post-wedding party hangover. Their offense is absolutely brutal. They're only scoring 13% of the time, 0 touchdowns and 16 first quarter possessions. Meanwhile, their defense is allowing opponents to score touchdowns 75% of the time in the red zone. So, this is a Baltimore defense that's been performing a lot better, and this is an anemic Tampa Bay offense that can't get anything going in the first quarter, let alone the first half. So I'm going to play the Ravens in the first quarter. I'm going to take that house money. I'm going to double up. And probably my favorite play here tonight, Tyler, is the Ravens at the half on the money line. I think they go into halftime with a considerable lead on Tom Brady and this Tampa Bay Bucks team. With that being said, let's talk about these quarterbacks. What prop bets are you going to be playing? Quarterback prop bets are you going to be playing heading into tonight?
Yeah, Anita, if the Ravens have a big halftime lead, it would help and correlate with my favorite Tom Brady prop, and that's him to go over 38.5 passing attempts, something Brady has done in each of his last 5 games. In fact, he has thrown no less than 40 pass attempts in any of the last 5 games. He had a couple of games in there where he threw 52 pass attempts. So if the Ravens are leading, that means Tom's got to chuck it to try and get his team back in the game. That would correlate. I just going to ride that trend, something that's happened 5 straight games. Brady over his pass attempt prop.
So I hope these two can hit. I'm not sure they can, but I am fading Tom Brady tonight. I'm taking Tom Brady under his passing yards. I'm also playing Tom Brady to throw an interception. I'm also playing Lamar Jackson to rush more than 9 times in the game and for him to surpass his rushing yards. Here's why. This Ravens team, like I said, they are getting pressure on the quarterback. Meanwhile, Tom Brady only has 2.24 seconds between snap to get rid of the ball. That is not good. Cameron Brate is out. He's not going to help with pass protection. Tom Brady's only averaging 52% completion percentage under pressure, and he's going to be under pressure tonight. Also, the Ravens defense forcing 20% of their opponent's turnovers. So I do believe he throws an interception tonight. As for Lamar Jackson, we talked about it on Daily Wager. Todd Bowles now at the helm here with the Bucs. He's calling the plays on defense. He blitzes 35% of the time. You blitz against Lamar Jackson, he's going to tuck that ball. He's going to run for daylight. And I think we're going to see him run all over this Bucs team where, go back, look last week, 2 backup running backs, and Hubbard and Foreman put up combined over 180 rushing yards against this Tampa Bay Bucs defense. So I think Lamar Jackson, Edwards, I think they're going to have a field day running the football against this Tampa Bay defense. With that being said, what are some of the other prop bets, some of the other skill position players out there that you're going to be playing tonight, Tyler? Yeah, non-QB division. I'm going to look at 2 situations that I think are going to happen.
One is that Gus Edwards is not going to get the opportunity that he got, Anita, just 4 days ago. That was the first game Edwards played since, tearing ACL, LCL, and hamstring off the bone. It was awesome that he came back and immediately got 16 carries for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. But after playing your first game in a year plus and then having to turn around and travel to Tampa Bay and 3 days later, basically, get ready to play another NFL football game, I'm not sure it's in the best interest of Gus Edwards and his health to try and run him back out there and feed him the rock 16 times again. So I'm going to think that John Harbaugh tries to protect Edwards because they need him for the long haul, and maybe because this is a short rest Thursday game, they scale him back a little bit in this. I like your Lamar Jackson over props because I think Lamar's going to have to take up more of the running if Edwards, as I suggest, or I'm handicapping, is scaled back a little bit because of the short rest, playing his first game after a lengthy injury. And then the other one was Rachaad White. Leonard Fournette's not getting it done from an efficiency perspective. He's an old guy who's a little creaky on short rest as well. Rachaad White's looked good. Played his highest amount of snaps last week against Carolina. Lowest amount of snaps for Leonard Fournette. If that keeps moving in this direction, that's more opportunity for Rachaad White to catch a few passes over 2.5 from Tom Brady tonight.
I love it. We're on the same page there. I'm fading. News, alert the press. Anita's pulling an under. I'm going under with Leonard Fournette in his rushing yards, and for that reason, right? I think White is the better running back. He's averaging 4 yards per carry as opposed to Fournette only 2.4. I think the better running back gets the bulk of the carries tonight. How about Justin Houston over just getting one sack at plus 190? Statuesque. Tom Brady sitting back there. Justin Houston, he's got 4 already on the season. And so those are 2 of the prop bets I'm looking at. I also have some touchdowns here. I like Gus Edwards to score a touchdown. I like Lamar Jackson to score a touchdown. How about this, Tyler? How about Gus and Lamar each scoring a touchdown and the Ravens win at 10-1? How about that? What are your thoughts on those?
I mean, I like going for broke there. The Baltimore defense is interesting. I would like mostly for Lamar Jackson to score a rushing touchdown because I have him in about 70% of my season-long fantasy leagues. So a big Lamar Jackson day would be very nice for my Week 8 propositions going forward in fantasy football.
All right, Tyler, we'll say goodbye. Enjoy the Thursday night game. Always love having you on Bet. Thank you, my friend.
All right, we'll see you next time, Anita.
You got it. We go from the gridiron to the diamond. Doug Glanville joins us now. Doug, welcome into Bet. Really thrilled to have you on to do let's do a deep preview into the World Series that kicks off tomorrow. And first and foremost, let's talk about this Astros team, right? They've not lost a game since the Phillies back on October 3rd, where, of course, they went up against Nola, who it's been reported will be the first pitcher, game 1 for the Phillies. That day, he struck out 9 Astros in a little over 6 innings. So with that being said, can the Phillies steal a game? Like, let's just say if they don't have that type of outstanding performance from Nola, can they still steal a game from the Astros in game 1?
Well, they can steal it, and I think they have to do it by literally stealing. They're a team that, although they hit home runs just like the Astros, they can steal bags. Even guys like Kyle Schwarber, who led the National League in home runs, can steal a base from time to time. So they'll have to lean into their aggressive style of going first to third, taking the extra base, and running, because Nola was almost perfect the last time he pitched against the Astros. 6 innings, he gave up nothing. And then they finally got to him in the 7th inning, but really not much. They still didn't score. So you realize that they have good pitching, but in the end, offensively, they have to show their diversity by stealing some bases or at least being aggressive on the bases.
Yeah, taking a look at game 1 with you, if you want to bet on the Phillies, it's plus 143 on the run line. If you want to bet Houston, it's minus 170. The over-under is 6.5. I'm going a little out of the box here, out of the diamond, I should say. I'm taking Justin Verlander under 17.5 outs, and I'm sure people are going, what are you talking about? He's the Houston Astros ace. Yes, but look at his track record when he's on over 4 or 5 days rest. It's not great, right? Like, especially he went up against the Mariners. He gave up 10 hits and 6 runs against the Mariners. As we know, the Phillies lineup is really fantastic. Indoor ballpark as well. 7 postseason World Series appearances. Verlander is 1-6 with a 5+ ERA. I think if he starts struggling, Dusty is going to go to a really good bullpen early. So I'm going under 17.5 outs for Verlander in game 1. That's how I'm playing it. What say you, Doug?
Well, I'll tell you, I agree with the fact that the bullpen of the Astros is a huge asset. You look at the bullpen that, first of all, was the least used during the season. They pitched the least amount of innings. So that's a credit to their starters, but also how they managed that bullpen. They also were a bullpen that struck out per 9 innings the most. So there's a strikeout team. It's also a bullpen that doesn't give up home runs, and they're rested. So you get that combination, and you have a great situation for the Houston Astros. So even if Verlander doesn't go deep or has one of those kinds of starts, they have a bullpen that can bridge the game and to be able to close it under multiple circumstances. So that's why I'm optimistic that their bullpen will be a strength. The Phillies have a good one as well, certainly through the postseason, but they tend to walk a lot of hitters, and they're much more backloaded. So the Astros have a lot of versatility there.
So you talk about teams being rested. Both these teams are rested, right? They haven't played since Sunday. So with that being said, a lot of times the team that is more rested doesn't typically have a great game 1, but that's not going to be the case here. Which one of these offenses do you think will struggle with more than 4 days in between games?
Well, picking on it, I'd go with the Phillies more so than the Astros. And it's mostly looking at it this way. What doesn't slump with days off? You know, your bats could get cold, your rhythm and timing. But what the Astros do really well is you cannot strike these guys out. They're very tough to strike out. They put the ball in play. They have the discipline at the plate. Those are skills that will translate even with time off. And so that is their leg up. So when you put the ball in play and you create pressure, you're going to create opportunities and sometimes mistakes. So I see that as where the Astros can separate the fact that, yes, both teams are equally going to be off, and there could be some rust versus rest. But what's going to be the thing that can jumpstart where all things are equal? And that is their ability to put the ball in play and create pressure.
All right, Doug, before we let you go, I've got the Astros winning the series in 6. I got them winning at 4-2. What say you? How are you playing this?
I support the 4-2 Astros. Even I'm a lifelong Philly growing up, and plus playing. But at the same time, the Astros are the team right now with all the wins they've racked up this season, and they delivered through the postseason. But it goes back to that original point. They put the ball in play, and you put the ball in play against a team like the Phillies that has struggled defensively overall, even though they've been improved over the postseason. So I think that will be the difference. They're pretty well matched, but the Astros put the ball in play, and the Phillies don't field as well. I think that will be the difference between the Astros and the Phillies.
Doug, great stuff. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on Bet. Really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You got it. So now we move, we go back to the gridiron from the diamond, and we bring in 2 fantastic men who cover both the Giants and the Seattle Seahawks for ESPN. Jordan Raanan, who him and I work a lot together since I'm here in New York, and Brady Henderson, of course, who's covering the Seattle Seahawks. Guys, Jordan, let's start with you. Let's start with this Giants team, right? Not getting any respect at all. And yet, they're 6-1, but still, they're the dog heading into Seattle. Big reason why they've been winning is their defense has been spectacular, taking advantage of great opportunities. But, how do you feel? This is a Seattle Seahawks offense that has just been scoring at will. How do they plan to slow down the Seattle Seahawks offense with, dare I say, Geno Smith? I never in a million years thought I'd say that, but that's what we're witnessing this season.
Yeah, the same Geno Smith that started one game for the Giants. I think every Giants fan remembers that one crazy game that Geno Smith started for them. But it really starts with stopping the run. The Giants have allowed a league worst 5.74 yards per carry this season. What did we see last week from Seattle? You saw Ken Walker. I heard it's Ken Walker, not Kenneth Walker. We saw Ken Walker just go off, right? The rookie out of Michigan State. Good-looking young player. The Giants know in order for them to be successful defensively, they need to do much better against the run. And it's usually you say that and it's like, okay, the interior, their defense, That's where teams exploit the run game. No. With the Giants, it's team running at their edges. And as Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, said today, that means the linebackers out there, the cornerbacks, even the nickel cornerback, those are the guys they're going to be looking for at times to do a better job, because if you let Ken Walker get going, then that allows Geno Smith to do his damage. And we've seen already, this is a Seattle offense that has proved to be explosive. Starts with the run game for the Giants, so they have to stop it.
So, Brady, again, the Giants still not getting any respect. The Seattle Seahawks coming into this season got no respect, which, by the way, a little birdie told me you do a great Rodney Dangerfield impersonation. Is that true?
No, I don't know where you heard that. That's not true. I have seen Caddyshack, though.
I mean, the reason why the Seattle team has been doing so well is because Geno Smith didn't start for an NFL team for 8 years, 8 seasons, and now has really turned this offense around. What's making it click?
Geno Smith is making it click. It's as simple as that. He really has been, I think, the surprise story of the NFL. And, going back to before the season, different Seahawks sources that I spoke with, several of them thought that Drew Lock would win that competition, either that he would win it and or he should win it. And the thought was that as the younger, maybe more talented player, he had more upside. And remember, the Seahawks, the reason they wanted to trade Russell Wilson to Denver specifically was because they wanted Lock back in that deal. And yet 7 weeks into the season, there's Geno Smith ranking 4th in total QBR. He's been the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, and he's definitely got some help from a much improved offensive line. The running game has been great, even with Rashad Penny going down, Ken Walker taking over. He's got some good weapons, really good weapons in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But he has simply been a revelation, and it's not as though he is simply managing games for them. They've been one of the more pass-heavy offenses in the NFL. You're seeing Geno Smith make big-time throws down the field. You're hearing, Pete Carroll and other coaches rave about the command that he's had at the line of scrimmage and continually getting them into the right plays. And so as crazy as this would have sounded even a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, it's not at all out of the question that Geno Smith could be their quarterback next season, if not for the long term.
It's been fun to watch. Jordan, back to you. Listen, we know there's nothing more the Giants would love than to go into their bye week 7-1. They need to pull off another upset. How do they do it on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, look, Brady just said it. Geno's playing great, right? Geno's lighting it up. That offense, they're top 10 in the league in scoring points. So for the Giants, it's on their defense, right? They have a recipe for success so far, the Giants. The defense holds the opposition to right around that 20-point mark. If they let up more than 20 points, they haven't allowed more than 23 points in a game this season. So you could pretty much lock it in so far. The Giants' recipe is keep the opposition around that 20-point mark, make just enough plays offensively. The Giants aren't talented enough offensive-wise, right? Go look at their weapons. Their weapons are super limited. You're talking about Marcus Johnson, who dropped multiple passes last week. He's starting on one side. Darius Slayton, who dropped a couple passes also. He has a history of drop passes. He's starting on the other side. I know Wan'Dale Robinson. You love him, Anita, I know. But it's not enough when Wan'Dale Robinson's your number one receiver. So you're not going to win by going in there into Seattle with the 12th man and with that offense showing up and scoring 40. It's just not going to happen. So they have to rely on their defense. Run defense has to be better. Their pressure has been better in recent weeks. Watch out for Kayvon Thibodeau. This past week, I know he didn't get a sack, but that was his best game of the season. It was his highest pass rush win rate so far in his 5 games. The Giants' defense is going to be the one that's going to, again, have to carry the load and the offense be opportunistic. Maybe then they could be 7-1 at their bye week. Never would have thought that.
I do like Robinson. I picked him up on a few of my fantasy teams this past week. Brady, let's end with this. I know I keep on talking about the Giants who are just not respected. They're coming in as a dog again. How much does that locker room realize, A, that they're favored going into this matchup, and B, they're going up against a team that loves to pull up upsets? Like, how aware are they in regard to this dynamic that we are heading into Sunday with?
But we haven't heard any talk from them about favorites or underdogs or upsets. The one thing I think we've heard the most this week is the respect that they have for the Giants' run game. And Jordan talked about it, from the Giants' perspective and stopping Seattle's run game. That's really the thing that they have mentioned most. Pete Carroll said that, I think he said Saquon Barkley poses the ultimate threat as a running back, and said that their running game is as hard to stop as anybody's in the NFL. And the Seahawks, their defense has really pulled off, it's in the middle of pulling off, I should say, a drastic turnaround for the third straight season, really. And one of the things that they've done best in the last couple weeks is to stop the run after they really struggled in that area over the first 5 games. And one of the differences there, Quentin Jefferson, one of their defensive linemen, has talked about this, is that their defensive linemen have been able to penetrate more. There's less two-gapping, less reading and reacting, and more trying to get up the field and be disruptive. And he said that in order to do that against a back like Saquon Barkley, they've got to be really disciplined, knowing how adept he is at finding cutback lanes. He has a ton of respect for Barkley. He talked about how good he is at really making defenders miss in the backfield. And so you can probably see the flag behind me. It's whipping. You can maybe hear it too. It's windy right now in Seattle. It's going to be rainy on Sunday. At least that's what the forecast says. So this is going to be very much running the ball weather. But the Seahawks know that the Giants would want to do that regardless of the weather.
Rain in Seattle? Come on, never, Brady.
Oh, no.
Brady, Jordan, thank you so much for previewing. Who would have thunk heading into week 7 of the NFL season that this would be one of the premier games? Guys, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Have a great night. I always like to end the show with "before I let you go." And we've been talking about how great I do believe the Ravens are going to be in the first 3 quarters of the game. In fact, their point differential in the first 3 quarters of games is 156 to 25. However, the Ravens have struggled in the 4th quarter. Their point differential is minus 46. And the Tampa Bay Bucs do well in the 4th quarter. Get this, Lamar Jackson has thrown 4 of his 6 interceptions in the 4th quarter. The Bucs have made 4 of their interceptions in the 4th quarter. And since Brady has arrived in Tampa, they have the fewest 4th quarter turnovers in the NFL. So as much as I love the Baltimore Ravens in the first 3 quarters, if you want to play the Tampa Bay Bucs -1 in the 4th quarter, do it, because all the trends tend to say Tom Brady very well could pull a comeback upset and tie Peyton Manning for the record of most comebacks in the NFL. That concludes our bet show. Good betting and enjoy the Thursday night game.